Hi everyone! Welcome to the second in this special weekend of Elton John. Well, we've made it a special weekend because I guess I've listened to a couple Elton Johns by now. The very first one I listened to was Come Down in Time, and then I listened to Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, and that's what we did yesterday. Now today, we're going to listen to another one called Candle in the Wind. And, well, let me read about it. Let's see what there is there. Candle in the Wind is a Threnody-style ballad written by Elton John and Bernie Taupin. It was originally written in 1973 in honor of Marilyn Monroe, who had died 11 years earlier. 11, as I like to say, 11 whole years earlier. Were they 11 whole years? 11 years earlier. I wonder, after 11 years had passed, what inspired them to decide to write a tribute song to Marilyn Monroe. That'd be something interesting to find out. In 2004, Rolling Stone magazine listed the original version of the song at number 347 of its 500 greatest songs of all time. During a concert on the 7th of April 1990 at Farm Aid 4, John dedicated the song to Ryan White, who was an American teenager from Kokomo, Indiana, who became a national poster child for HIV/AIDS in the United States after his school barred him from attending classes following a diagnosis of AIDS. Back when there was a lot of prejudice and ignorance about AIDS, of course. In 1997, John performed a rewritten version of the song, Candle in the Wind 1997, as a tribute to Diana, Princess of Wales. Well, that's interesting. It seems that this song is a tribute song, and it worked so well, maybe it was so suitable for so many different occasions, contexts, individuals. It's basically applied to 3 different important, significant individuals, each one very different, by Elton John himself. This is going to be interesting to listen to, and I guess I won't be surprised if I hear that many of you perhaps have used it as a tribute song for people that you admire or care about. So maybe that'll be something you can share in the comments if you wish. Let's see what it sounds like.
Goodbye, Norma Jean. No, I never knew you at all. You had the grace to hold yourself while those around you crawled. They crawled out of the woodwork and they whispered into your brain. They set you on the treadmill and they made you change your name. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never knowing who to cling to when the rain set in.
It has such a nice pull you in and make you sway along with it feel, doesn't it? I especially appreciate, so far, the way that the bass and the other instruments, the voices, are placed at just the right moment to kind of enhance and pull us into the whole experience. I feel like I'm just being immersed in this recollection, reflection, meditation on some great life.
Never knowing who to cling to when the rain set in. And I would have liked to know you, but I was just a kid. Your candle burned out long before your legend ever did.
Nice guitar.
Loneliness is tough, the toughest road you ever played. Hollywood created superstar, and fame was the price you paid.
that was. Did you notice what happened there? Even when you died, listen to what's happening with the percussion behind it. It was such a great little articulation of that line.
Pain was the price you paid. Even when you died.
It's so nice.
Oh, the press still hounded you. All the papers had to say was that Marilyn was found in the news. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind.
Voices here.
Never knowing who to cling to when the rain set in. And I would have liked to know you, but I was just a kid. Your candle burned out long before your legend ever did. Goodbye, normal teen. Though I never knew you at all, you had the grace to hold yourself while those around you crawl. Goodbye, normal teen. From the young man in the 22nd row who sees you as something more than sexual, more than just our Marilyn Monroe. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never knowing who to cling to when the rain set in. And I would have liked to.
This is such a compelling ballad feel, isn't it? So let me comment just a little bit before we come to the end here, because it's kind of, I've heard this is the chorus, the refrain. We've come around to it several times. Here we are again. Let me just walk us through it towards the end here, because it's one of those examples of really classic musical techniques. Nothing groundbreaking by any stretch of the word, but the way it is paced and timed and presented, it works so well. What I'm talking about is the way the voices are brought in. And, well, we have this great Elton John voice singing the lyrics, everything through. But then this chorus comes in. And let's just take a moment to appreciate what impact it's having on this, on the refrain here.
More than just our Marilyn Monroe. And it seems to me.
So, Elton John is going to say, and it seems to me. But the voices start with an ah. They never sing and, but as they sing ah, it's as if they are preparing us for that and. It's almost like they are anticipating that word. They are building us up to it. So when he comes in, he doesn't really have to emphasize. He can just go, and it seems to me, and it falls right in, and it flows, and it becomes. It's an interesting case of the chorus not being the primary focal point, and yet it is like this broad swath of color laid down, which then there's this other stream of color that is brought in, and smaller, more movement to it. But somehow it's like, I should say, let me say it this way. It's like a great river and another tributary coming in. But it feels like that, and at the same time, this tributary is really the main stream we've been following all along. So it's this wonderful contrast and balance between the broad river, which is the chorus, and the tributary coming in downstream a bit, and we realize, no, hold on. what we've been following all along. It's this wonderful feeling that it brings in here.
More than sexual, more than just our Marilyn Monroe. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the...
And then they come together on Candle in the Wind. It's like that is the moment when the two waters flow together and mix into one.
And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never knowing who to cling to when the rain set in.
And again, rain set in, everybody together. It's tasteful, incredibly well-placed moments of when the two sets of voices join together to either be vocalizing separately or simultaneously singing and articulating the same words. It could very easily be used as a kind of a recipe, a formula, and we hear it like that sometimes in music. We're like, okay, nice, it's a nice effect. But here in this song, it emphasizes just the right moments. Candle in the wind, when the rain set in. It brings those to our attention. Okay, I'm going to back up. This time we'll just enjoy it to the end.
And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never knowing who to cling to when the rain set in. And I would have liked to know you, but I was just a kid. Your candle burned out long before legend ever did. Your candle burned out long before legend ever did.
Very nice, very nice. I was just listening to that guitar. Some of those figures almost. But no, I don't think.
You burned out long before legend ever did.
That could almost be a David Gilmour guitar line, couldn't it?
Long before legend ever did.
Probably isn't David Gilmour, but perhaps somebody inspired by him, or somebody who enjoys the same sounds that he does.
Wait. How about watching Sir Elton John performing this song at Lady Diana's funeral?
Oh, sure. Let's do that.
Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You are the grace that placed yourselves where lives were torn apart. You called out to our country and you whispered to those in pain. Now you belong to heaven, and the stars spelled out your name.
So this was truly rewritten as far as
And it
lyrics
seems to me
and everything.
You lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset.
Very
when the
different.
rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Loneliness we've lost, those empty days without your smile, this try. The truth brings us to tears. All our words cannot express the joy you brought us through the years. And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind.
You know, I've never watched any of the footage from Princess Diana's funeral. This is my first time watching.
And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You were the grace that placed yourselves where lives were torn apart. Goodbye, English road, from a country lost without your soul, who missed the wings of your compassion more than you will ever know.
I'm seeing this line where it says recorded earlier. I'm going to comment on that after this is over.
You've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.
Okay, I have so much in my mind I want to talk about. Give me just a minute to kind of get it in order so that we can make sure I don't miss anything. Well, let's start with the end here because we just finished and some things are right in my mind that I want to talk about. First of all, I commented, this is my first time actually sitting down and watching any footage of Princess Diana's funeral, and it's so funny to look back at the first set of lyrics where it says, I would have liked to know you, but I was just a kid. I would have liked to know you, but I was just a kid. And I'm realizing, just the timing and all. Princess Diana's funeral was before I was watching TV, way back when. And it's just not something that was part of my lived experience. I know I've heard my mother and my grandmother talk about the whole shock. I've read about it, I've studied some about it, but I've never actually sit down and taken time to watch footage of something that happened on the other side of the world, in another country, another time. Too recently to really be part of the history books. Too long ago to be part of my life. It's that funny no man's land, which is really kind of what I'm diving into here with a lot of this rock music. Now we start seeing it show up in more academic settings, but unless you lived through it, I'm just in that funny range where if I wasn't exposed to it in real time, it's not something that I would have really run into a lot in my studies. And here is another historical moment, kind of the same thing. It wasn't part of my experience, and here I am watching it for the first time. So those of you who lived through it yourself, here I am for the first time seeing some footage. Vlad's sitting back there raising his hand. This line in the original set of lyrics kind of applies to me, doesn't it? I would have liked to know you, but I was just a kid. In other words, you were before my time. You weren't really you know, I can admire you. I can admire the legend of you. I can study you and learn more about the person that you were beyond the legend. I can empathize with your struggles, with your challenges in life. But our lives are in two different times, two different worlds. It's so interesting to see that show up in the lyrics for the first set for Norma Jean, Marilyn Monroe, and feel it applying to myself here with the second set for Princess Diana. Well, what a lovely rewrite of the lyrics too. They were completely rewritten. Just a few phrases and a few lines kept to keep it true to the original title. And of course, the sentiment is pretty much the same, but it's very personally applied. Just like the first set was very specific to an individual, a real person, a real life. So the second also was written with a specific person and life in mind, and that is central. It's not just a kind of a rehash and reapplication. Which brings me back to this idea I had when I first read the introduction is, maybe some of you have used this as tributes to others, significant people in your lives. And I'm thinking, well, if Elton John took the freedom, the liberty to rewrite his own lyrics so significantly, I wonder if any of you have kind of done a rewrite of this for a certain person. That would be interesting to hear about. So if any of you have done so, please let me know, and I'll be pleased, impressed, and delighted. I won't criticize you for meddling with his lyrics, because clearly these were meant to be personal. And I don't think he would be upset if any of you made it personal. Okay, now, I said that I would talk about this recorded earlier line, which this was a TV footage. I don't know exactly. I suppose that was an event recorded earlier and broadcast later, and that's why it says recorded earlier. I want to comment about it because we've just finished the 2024 Olympics in Paris, and truth be told, I haven't watched much of them, but I did watch a little bit of, well, I watched Celine Dion's opening song, and I also saw, I was also following some discussions online among musicians, some of my musician contacts and others commenting on the piano in the rain and all of that stuff. Ah, so terrible. And some people saying, how could they play in the rain like that? Why could you? And others stepping in and saying, well, the fact is this was pre-recorded and it was mimed for the broadcast, for the actual ceremony. But the actual sound was recorded earlier. That's why it sounded so good in spite of the rain and everything. Well, we live in an amazing age, don't we? When you can do things like that. But if you've followed my channel for very long, you know that I have a lot of appreciation for immediate sincerity. And this performance of Elton John, clearly he is not miming it. You watch his hands playing, you watch his body moving, you watch him singing in the mic. This performance was done on the spot, in the moment, in the heat of the moment. At that time, he performed it, and what a beautiful performance. Of course, it was indoors. We're not dealing with weather and rain and all of that. But we see a lot of the sort of thing that we saw at the Olympics, where something is pre-recorded and then the artists mime it. There are good reasons for that being done. Very good reasons. But I still have a lot of appreciation and admiration for artists, performers who can get up and present the real, immediate expression of themselves in that moment. And it's kind of like, I don't want to go too far off track here, but I'm thinking of actors and videography and, all kinds of stuff, like, say, Ren. That's one of the things that I admire about his productions, is that it's all happening in the moment. And there is something very alive, I could say very earthy that comes through in something like that, which it may never feel quite so polished and, I'm going to say staged, of course, because it is not so staged. It is something that happens, and there's an emotional immediacy and intensity that comes through when something happens in that moment. And it's a way of connecting to the time, to the experience, to the context, the setting in which it's presented. All that is to say, I enjoyed this performance. I appreciate it. And I felt that immediacy, that in the heat of the moment expression for this event. And I feel like that was very appropriate and very special. And I enjoyed it for that reason. Okay, going back to the original version, Goodbye, Norma Jean. I guess I talked a little bit about the chorus, the voices coming together. I also enjoyed, of course, his piano playing. He's a fine pianist. Gives a very nice feel. And that bass, just when it comes in and it fills everything out, and everything moving through musically, it's lovely. I want to talk about the lyrics a little bit, because I like them a lot. I do. They're not very pretentious at all. Just kind of a simple, sweet goodbye, meditative quality. Very suited to the ballad feel and all of that. But what they express is so beautiful. And there's certain lines that really stood out to me as being extra special. The first line, Goodbye, Norma Jean, calling her by her birth name, by her given name, not her stage name, makes it very personal and sets the tone for the entire song. Though I never knew you at all, you had the grace to hold yourself while those around you crawled. And talks about, it's just expressing her personality, her strength, her sheer force of will to live and be who she was in spite of all that she had to deal with along the way. Nice tribute, isn't it? But then, of course, it talks about some of the struggles and the negative influences in her life. They set you on the treadmill, they made you change your name, and it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never knowing who to cling to when the rain set in. And such a tender way of acknowledging the weaknesses and the stumbles along the way and the difficulties that someone like Marilyn Monroe had to deal with and endure. But moving on, coming down here, this line, when it talks about when all the press had to say when you died was that they still hounded you, they still treated you like an object. All they could talk about was that you were found in the nude and, all the garish details and they forget that this is a real life, a real person. And that is what I find so special about this set of lyrics, is that it gives her personhood back to her. That's what it does. So beautifully, so respectfully, so sensitively. There's a line which kind of comes out as almost preachy when it says, from the young man in the 22nd row who sees you as something as more than sexual, more than just our Marilyn Monroe. That could easily be taken as kind of self-righteous, preachy, but at the same time, when you know who Marilyn Monroe was and how she was viewed by the public, that in itself, to voice that and say, you're more than just an object to me. You're more than something I pin up on my wall and decorate my room with and page through the magazine. I see you as a person. There's also this sense of sort of hero worship here. Just a bit, you know? Kind of, you were a hero to me. I admired you and I admire you. I feel like you were you had a difficult life, but you lived it heroically, you know, with this grace that I'm talking about. And I would have loved to know you. Not just watch you on screen, look at your pictures. I would have loved to sit down and get to know you, the person. Because I see that there is a real person there. And I would have loved to have a connection to the person that you were. But I was just a kid. Too late, out of my time. But still, I admire you. You are, in a way, one of my heroes. It doesn't say you are my hero, but we feel that in this whole set of lyrics. And it's so beautifully expressed. And, of course, your candle burned out long before your legend ever did. And moving to the second version, your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Little tweak there. I have to say, he nailed it, didn't he? Because the legend of Princess Diana continues to this day, doesn't it? Really a lovely song. I enjoyed the lyrics, I enjoyed the music, I enjoyed the live performance, the studio performance, all of it. And those are some of the things that stood out to me in this first listen, first exposure. I'm sure I'll be listening to this again. And please do tell me if any of you have rewritten this for anyone special in your life. I'll see you soon.